So Pavel Sivakov had a pretty good end of the season. He did the Tour de France, then he had some time off. Then he did Tour of Britain top 10, including top 10 on the tumble, second in Quebec, 20th in Montreal, and then in the World Road Race Champs, he was pretty active, finished 15th in the end. But what did he do between the Tour and the Tour of Britain? Because if you kind of look on PCS, you go, okay, well, he finished the Tour, then this was kind of a stage race in order to gain form for the end of season 1 days. So we'll go over just to his Strava so you can kind of see what we're dealing with, which is the Tour finishes on this date here. He then literally doesn't ride his bike, and then it's these 3 to 4 weeks that we're dealing with. So he does 3 weeks of build, 1 week easy. That's the Tour of Britain, Canada Classics, week off, Worlds. So we'll get over to the spreadsheet that I've created, and then we'll go through some individual workouts and some general themes and trends that I've spotted. So this was the week I spoke about where there was literally 0 hours. He did 2-hour calf spin, Saturday, Sunday didn't ride. Then he went to Corfu, did some kind of standard UAE zone 2, zone 3 work. I mean, you can see the numbers here, pretty standard for Civ, 280 watts average, that's kind of zone 2. Then he did Poggy's race, which actually looked quite hard. He did 410 normalized 51 minutes, did an opener the day before, but 15 and a half hours, nothing crazy. I think what's interesting here is that he just kind of eases back in, no efforts until Saturday, and actually most of this is pretty relaxed in terms of like, you know, no seriously hard stuff. Then he actually doesn't have many days off. That's the other thing. He actually rides every single day. Even then, he like flies from Poggy's race in Slovenia, and then Monday he's already riding. Again, nothing too crazy. He does first climb 300 watts. Maybe the plan was to do all of it like that, and then he felt tired. I'm not sure, but yeah, that didn't look too difficult. And then the next day he just does 4 hours with some like kind of upper zone 3 work, zone 2 work, 300 watts average. You can see like for these kind of durations, calf spin. So that's kind of I'd say the first block of training, generally pretty easy. Zone 2, zone 3 work, 1 hard effort day. And then he really starts to build from Wednesday onwards. So we'll go on to one of these rides. So this was probably like the first real hard effort, 4.5 hours, average 290 watts. Like it's not impossible for him, but an hour 320, hour 313, hour 300. Now this is interesting. Why has he dropped the power? So I was trying to see here if he did a lactate test after each one to see, but you can see like it says 18 minutes 20, 18 minutes 20. So he didn't stop after this interval. So what that makes me think is that they must know that he's going to drop some power. He could be doing it to heart rate. Obviously, I don't have heart rate data, but it's interesting he drops power across. I mean, generally, people's LT1 does reduce across a ride, so it's not too surprising that he's doing 300 watts at the end. I mean, you can see maybe it's just the gaps because he actually does 316 on the ons here. So maybe he is trying to do 316. He just has more interruptions, while on this one he has less interruptions, and on this one he has even less as well. So it's kind of hard to tell, but I do think he's reducing his power because he's doing 320 watts here. And I think he's reducing it just so that he's not going over his LT1. Let's say it's 320 watts fresh, then here maybe it's only 300, 315. So he's just reducing it a bit. He rides pretty hard to his house, actually. Like, maybe he stops it before his Garmin, but 290 watts the last 7 minutes. Man is not messing around. Again, these efforts are done on the flat. I don't think it matters that much in terms of altitude, but just something that's interesting. And then he backs it up with another session here. So we'll go over to the 30-30s, actually. This was a pretty interesting ride because they're kind of a new style. We already had the ride up. They're a new style interval maybe that you haven't seen as much, which is 30-30s, but very minimal recovery. So if we look at this section here, 385 watts. So it's not a typical 30-30 session. It's more of a VO2, like super hard, then kind of easy. He also spreads it out across the ride. So 1 in the first hour, 1 in the middle, and then 1 towards the end. So after this one, he's already done 2,000 kilojoules, which, to be honest, for him is not much. He actually won't feel any tiredness from it. Obviously, he'll feel some muscular fatigue from the actual like efforts, but in terms of like general just tiredness from riding, like that's not very much at all. Short ride as well, 3 hours. So that's probably something else to notice. Like the interval days are generally a bit shorter. It's also weird that he does that at the end of the block. So he's doing 2 hard days, then the interval day. But yeah, this is a pretty tough week. I mean, he's like doing pretty decent rides the whole time. There's not much easy rides. Then calf spin, and then again like a bit shorter blocks here, only 2-day blocks. So here we're kind of talking more like this was a 4-day block. This was a 3-day block, so slightly shorter but more intense days here. So the first day is the 40-20s. Again, you've probably seen these, but these are very similar, 4x8 40-20s. And yeah, I mean, they're just hard. I think maybe they're here. No, that's a different 40-20. Anyway, we've seen them before. 470 watt average. He does. He goes up the climb, 10 minutes rest, bangs them out. Next day, 5 hours, easy. I mean, easy. It's still relatively hard, but it's not, yeah, it is pretty hard, actually. 300 normalized for him is tough. Calf spin. And then we're going to go through these threshold efforts, which are pretty impressive. So generally doesn't seem to do a crazy amount of threshold, but does some, I guess you're getting good threshold benefit from a 10-minute effort, even if it is like a VO2 max style effort. But yeah, this is the session here. So we'll go on the laps first. So you can see 4 minutes, 390, 1 minutes, 550. Just the standard tempo spikes, 2 times 20. So again, like not that much. You kind of expect maybe to be more. I guess this is just to maintain some threshold work. It's not crazy hard. Again, like if we actually look at this interval, he's doing like 425 watts for 20 minutes. So pretty impressive work, and his repeatability is good as well. Actually better, he does 435 on the second one. So interesting to see, like UAE still do some threshold work, just not a crazy amount. And then 6 hour zone 2, easy. And then we see something that I've never seen before. Some really hard efforts. Now this must be just getting used to races. So this was 6 times 4 minutes into 6 times 30 seconds. So the 4 minutes of 500 watts with 4 minutes off. Doing 6 of them is pretty horrible. Most people do 4x4. You can see also like the power does decrease, and that's kind of normal in VO2 max efforts because you tire. But if your heart rate still gets really, really high, most of the gains probably still going to be there. Then the 30 seconds, quite big rest, so he can properly get the most out of himself with the 30 seconds. Not crazy, to be honest, like 730s, like he's not super, super punchy in that sense. Like the 30 seconds aren't crazy. Obviously, he's done the 4 minutes before, so that would have kind of tired him out a little bit. But yeah, 750 watts. I mean, they're pretty consistent across the block. He doesn't really fade that much, but that's kind of to be expected with someone like him. You'd expect that would be his strong point, his repeatability, but maybe the first one wouldn't be too crazy. So that's kind of 23 hours. Not crazy for a World Tour Pro, like 2 long rides. The rest, not really too long, 3-4 hours, pretty short for these boys. So yeah, then we were just on some standard, the last kind of maybe taper week. He's done most of this hard effort. So this one is like, again, 2 times an hour, 300 watts. The rest of it, tapper. Tuesday, again, is like kind of a weird taper session, 12 minutes, 450, then eases off. So these sessions are a bit easier. Calf spin, but no calf, can't believe it. Had to do an hour inside. And then 40-20, 3 times 8. Now this, again, is a different kind of 40-20 to what we may have seen before. So these are like, I'd say, a traditional 40-20, where you're basically going absolute maximal on the ons, and the offs, you're really, really soft pedaling. Like 145 watts, can't get how easy that is for them. That's like you or me doing like 70 watts or 80 watts. Like it's actually basically not pedaling. And also, why does he do 690 for the first ones? Spike heart rate, get the heart rate high early on. So these are kind of done more maximal. You see he does like fade a little bit. The last one's like 470. So these are like proper flat out efforts. There's no holding back or anything. Again, starts off 600 watts, goes down a bit. This one seems a bit more controlled. Like you can see the offs maybe 250, 5 to 550. So these are a bit more relaxed. But yeah, the first ones of these are absolutely crazy. You'll see like the 2 minute power on the first one, 535 watts. So yeah, like seriously big gas here. And you can see like on this effort, like the second one as well, the power's coming down across the interval. So that's like kind of a different stimulus. They're also a lot shorter as well. I think they're only going to be 6 minute intervals as well. So that is very, very different. I actually might have written that wrong. Yeah, 3 times 6. So these are a bit shorter efforts and just something to really spice you up for the race day, get your legs going. So again, it's like just interesting how they periodize the intensity. Like they're not necessarily doing radically different intervals. Like, okay, they're doing 40-20s here, 40-20s here, but it's just the way, it's like the nuanced way of they're doing it. And less sets, more intensity, just trying to get the legs going. 2 hour calf spin. Then he does pretty hard session in some ways, 4 minutes, 440, 4 minutes off. It's like half an hour, 380 watts. I assume that's just like, again, keeps his threshold going, but nothing crazy. Still quite a big VO2 stimulus, so that would be around his 20 minute power. Probably a little bit lower, actually, thinking about what he did, 2 times 20, 430. So hard, I guess. It's more of a threshold workout than VO2. Then hour and a half, easy pre-travel. So you can see he's like docked it down pretty, like this day obviously is pretty decent. And that's probably at the end of that block. You can see he's like done his 30-30s here. And then actually this is probably where he starts to taper off a little bit. Like from this bit onwards, it's really not much. Maybe even this ride is not crazy either. And yeah, hour and a half easy. Pre-race ride, interesting to see, just 3 times 2 minutes, pretty hard. And and then he does this weird 3-minute interval. It's not quite, it's like 2 minutes 40. He does 40 seconds hard, 20 seconds off, times 3, and he also throws in a sprint as well. So that's what he did. Obviously, it went pretty well, so it's probably good. What's kind of my overall comments? Well, it's a lot of intensity would be one of the comment. It's hard to know how hard these rides are without knowing his threshold in this LT1, but I assume it must be over 300 watts as LT1, which is why these rides here are actually pretty minced. Like, okay, he did half an hour, 300 watts, but that's like not that crazy for him, because as a percentage threshold, it's probably 75% max. So it's like not crazy, and obviously it's going to free wheel a lot. Like if you look at the average power, 215, like that is real easy. So that's kind of one thing, I guess, is that actually there's like generally 3 days of big intensity a week, roughly. Obviously, it's not every week. This week is pretty hard. Some weeks are easier. I think what's always interesting with UAE is how they use the kind of 300 watt zone for Sivakov, like the kind of upper end of zone 2. Like sometimes you'll just do 3 times an hour at 320 watts. So like this session here, and then this ride he just does 5 hours, 290 average, 300 normalized. I don't really know exactly what's going on here, 100%. So maybe it's just progression. You start off with like 3 by an hour and then you go up to 5 hours at that intensity. I don't really quite understand it, but the rest of it kind of all makes sense in my head, just getting the hard efforts in. I'd say the other thing is he doesn't do crazy amount of intensity early on. He actually like eases back into training quite a lot. So I guess that's also a useful thing. Like if you're getting back to training, just ease into it and then start to do some efforts later on. And also probably that there aren't too many like full savage days. Like he doesn't do 6 hours of efforts. He just does really short effort rides, or he does long like endurance rides. Okay, yeah, they are quite hard, but he's not doing a typical race interval session where you do efforts at the beginning, middle, and end. He's really just doing fresh efforts more or less. And then, just like to get the endurance in and the ability to do long efforts is just riding at 280 watts all day for 6 hours. So it's like a theory that they obviously think that works, and it seems to go pretty well. So anyway, cheers for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.